If you've had a career in the corporate business world which has been successful and sustainable, however, you believe that you may be better suited for a change of pace which will maximize your productivity and potential, then you'll relate to the story of Lorraine Ball, who had a successful career in corporate America in her own right. However, she was tired of the bad coffee, bureaucracy, and not being able to fully exercise her leadership capabilities. Thus, she left corporate America 18 years ago to start her own digital marketing agency called Roundpeg, where she helps small business owners maximize their potential online and come up with effective digital marketing strategies in order for them to scale. She joined me this week to talk about her business journey and what brings her most fulfillment now, being her own boss, and how corporate America has changed. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Ball began by recounting her journey down the yellow brick road of business and her own lived experience, and how it transformed her into the leader she is today.
Well, it definitely is a yellow brick road with lots of twists and turns. I started out in retail, and when I went back to graduate school, I wait, before graduate school, there was a rotation through oil and gas industry. I did oil field sales, and then I went back to grad school and worked in heating and air conditioning for Carrier and for Lennox, and then insurance with Conseco. And the interesting thing is that in each of those places, I sort of learned something that was preparing me to run my own business, from the customer service techniques you learned in retail to being able to adjust on the fly to customer demands in my sales roles, to working with small businesses when I was at Carrier and helping them get stronger to sell their business. And all of those lessons culminated till one day I kind of went, you know what? I am tired of doing this for somebody else, of having great entrepreneurial ideas and someone telling me that it isn't how it's done, or we've tried it before. And so I decided to try it on my own. And that was 18 years ago, and I have never looked back.
Now tell me about the freedom that you have running your own life and your own business now.
Well, I'm going to tell you that there is freedom and there's constraints. Everybody says, oh, I'm going to be my own boss, and it's going to be wonderful. So the reality is I traded one boss for hundreds of bosses, because every one of my clients is now my boss. And so the freedom comes when you get a little bit of success and you can start to pick and choose who you want to work with. That's really critical, because now I still have bosses and I still have to meet their deadlines and their requirements. But by being able to pick and choose who I want to work with, it gives me a lot more control over how things are going to work. And being able to work with clients that respect and trust us makes it a lot more pleasurable and a lot more fun. And being able to work with people that when what we do really works, we can celebrate the wins with them.
Now, I know you now run your own digital marketing agency there in Indiana, helping small businesses sort of navigate their way from using the internet to sort of scale their business. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about your business model and the best ways, in your opinion, to scale your business using the internet.
So our business model is very customer focused in that we have a set of tools and things that we know work, but every business is different. And so the thing that I pride myself on most is that we don't have a cookie cutter approach. It's not one size fits all. We really get to know the individual company. We build websites. We are exclusively a WordPress shop, and we made that decision 11 years ago because I thought WordPress was a great tool for small businesses. It was relatively easy to build. It was very easy to train customers how to make updates on their own. It was supported by a global organization of developers who were improving the products, and just very, very flexible. So we build websites in WordPress, and then it varies. We have some clients that we manage all their social media, their Facebook, LinkedIn. We do some Twitter work, but that's really hard to do because it's so in the moment. We coach clients that maybe don't want to pay us to do it, but want someone to look over their shoulder. And we ghost blog. So on any given day, I'm switching from writing about beans in glass jars to scanning capabilities of an engineering company. And the trick is to try to make each of those industries interesting and appealing. So people say, I want to work with you. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about.
So, to that end, can you tell me about the creative sort of, you talked about restraints earlier, but can you tell me about the creative leeway that you get from your clients in trying to make their businesses sound more appealing to a mass group of people?
Well, I think a lot of the freedom to be creative comes from the internet. It's not that things disappear, but somebody once explained to me that a lot of what you're doing is you're creating blog posts and videos and social media is like building a sandcastle. Today it looks beautiful. Tomorrow the ocean comes along and washes it away and there's something new. And so one of the things that working on with digital marketing is every day is a new day, and you can rebuild what you built yesterday, or you can try something different and see if you get a prettier castle when it's over. And my favorite customers are definitely the ones that I can call up and say, okay, I've got this crazy idea, but I think it's gonna work. And they're like, okay, Lorraine, give it a shot. So I love that. And you know, you asked her earlier and I kind of buzzed over it, and I want to circle back on it. This idea of, you know, we're doing all this. How do small businesses use this information to grow? And I think the single biggest thing that any business can do in this day and age is have a strong website. You know, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, they all want you to plant your flag in any of their, you know, in their playground. But at the end of the day, you have to have your home base. And so that's probably the thing that we work on the most, is refining that home base so that they have a place for customers to come where they can control the conversation.
And tell me, how do you think the evolution of the internet has changed the corporate world in America?
Wow, you know, have you got several hours? But I think some of the big things, the first is, oh, and you can see in the background one of our two office cats walking by. I think big thing is the democratization of information. You know, when I first started in corporate, if you wanted a report or you wanted information, you called IT and you said, hey, can you run this report for me? And they'd be like, well, it's going to take 3 days. It's going to cost your budget this much. Now, because everything is online and everybody has access, the information that you really need to drive your business forward is usually at your fingertips. So I think that democratization of information is a huge game changer. It gives a lot more power to a wider number of people. I also think that the internet has rewarded the curious. When I first, and this is going to date myself, when I first started in corporate, we had one computer that 6 of us were sharing.
Wow.
Because they figured, well, you don't really need a computer, but here, have one. And we had secretaries, and they really did all the real typing and report creating. And then we got our own computers, and most of the folks that I worked with still went to the secretaries to do the work. And I dove in and learned how to use all the programs. And suddenly I was making presentations to senior management, and I could be ready at a moment's notice because I was creating it. I wasn't waiting on anybody else. And so the internet has really rewarded people who are curious and willing to learn because they can create their own opportunities, whether it's starting a new business or succeeding in corporate America.
Now, you piqued my interest, so I'm just going to ask a follow-up to that. In running your own business and working with clients, what's the rewarding part in teaching them how to be nimble in terms of adapting to the changing needs of their business?
When a client calls me and he says, oh my God, we had the best June on record. We had more phone calls. We had more this, making this change. Those are the things that make me feel good, because number one, it's nice to know I'm smart, but number two,
nice to get that validation, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's also, being a part of another company's success is a lot of fun. One of my very, very first clients was a company. They had 3 employees, and they hired me to help them write their business plan to get a loan to help them stay in business. Today, they are one of the largest web and outsourced IT companies in the city. They're considered one of the fastest growing companies in the city. And when I drive by their building and I see that giant logo on the side of a building and I look up and go, I helped. I'm a part of their success. That's really fun.
And I know that you've started sort of your own online community for small business owners to connect and to communicate. So can you also tell me, through that community, what are some of the concerns or successes that you're hearing from small business owners about the coronavirus and surviving during this time and just generally operating a business under the climate we're living in?
So I think the thing that is most frustrating to all of us, whether we are struggling, surviving, or doing well, and I have clients all over that spectrum, I think the thing that is hardest for everyone right now is the uncertainty. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know, is it going to get better or is it going to get worse? And so planning for that next 3 months or 6 months is hard because there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think that's the biggest challenge. There are some industries that were just naturals. my client that runs a managed IT remote work organization, he's doing great. Everybody wants his help setting up remote environments. If you have a product or a service that makes it easier for someone to work from home, you're in your happy place. And there are companies like that, but one of the things, and I was listening to an article today about Best Buy, and they're like, well, we had a phenomenal second quarter, but now everybody's got new computers. They're not going to need to go out and buy them in the third and fourth quarter because in other words, they shifted the curve. So I think being aware of kind of how this is going to continue to impact you. And the other thing we're seeing is companies that are pivoting, that are stepping back and going, okay, I can't do X. How do I stay in business? Those are the companies that are doing well. We're working with a theater, and before this all started, they had bought a van and they were going to do a theater on wheels kind of thing and take it to some parks, and they thought it was mostly a goodwill thing. Well, that's become a real moneymaker for them because they can drive this vehicle somewhere, sell tickets, people bring their lawn chairs and their picnic baskets, and it's an opportunity for the performers, it's an opportunity for the community, there's some revenue generated and a lot of great goodwill. Organizations that are figuring out how to do that. A restaurant nearby, almost immediately when they shut down, instead of slowing down the orders they were taking from the food service, they started saying, you know what? You can order anything that we buy. And they literally became an online food shopping service overnight. Lots of other people are doing that now, but they have the advantage because they did it first.
And I'm also wondering, since you have so much experience in both sectors now, the corporate world and the small business world, what role do you think the government should play in helping these small businesses survive? And what would be your message in that regard as well?
I think I actually really appreciate the role that the government took with the CARES Act and the PPP. I think that creating low interest loans, grants, training for business owners is absolutely vital. Everybody looks at corporate America, and how many people a company like General Motors or AT&T, employ. But if you add up all of the new companies or all the small businesses and realize that if they each hire just one person, you will have significantly more employment. And so I think helping businesses stay afloat, again, the 1% loans, the ability perhaps to convert those loans to grants so you don't have to pay them back and you can invest in your growth is absolutely vital. I know that in April, we lost a significant amount of money. A third of my clients shut down or paused. And I was able to turn around to my staff and say, everybody keeps their job, everybody continues to work full time because I have the support of the government. So that, the fact that the House of Representatives and the Senate and everybody could agree on something, that was awesome.
That doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. And I'm not going to get political. I have some very specific views on how, who I'd like to see. But that's not really what this is about. This is about the government cooperating and recognizing that what was most important was finding a way to keep small businesses open.
Ball is also a big proponent of taking a mental and psychological pause throughout the course of your work week as a small business owner to make sure that the mental health of yourself and your business remains strong.
Well, I think it's so easy every day. The phone rings and there's a customer on the other end, or there's an employee in your office. It is so
Or you
easy
get
to.
an email you think you have to answer right then and there. It happens
Mhm,
to me all the time.
absolutely. And so throughout the week, you have this plan, but the rest of the world sort of invades and drops in on you, and suddenly the urgent takes precedence over the important. And so carving out some time, whether you do it Friday or Sunday, whatever you do, carving out 1 or 2 hours to go back through and go, okay, what did I say I wanted to do this week? What did I get done? What do I need to do? What do I need to do next week? And really, when you create that to-do list, it's not that everything on your to-do list is equal. And being able to catch your breath and say, you know what, this is really important, because if I don't do this, I'm not going to achieve this goal. This is important because I have to take care of this customer. This is important, but I don't need to do it. I can delegate it. I can pay someone, hire someone, give it to an employee, outsource it. And it's in those moments when you step back and look at the big picture that you can begin to really plan your business's growth. The other thing that I do on Friday afternoons, and I try to do it every day, it doesn't happen every day, but Fridays it happens, is I get to inbox zero. And there's a lot of research. 15 years ago, when you got an email and there was that little ding, you've got mail, people were like, oh, I have an email. Now they're like, oh, I have an email. And so they actually studied how people opened up their email, and there was this just dread, because the people knew they'd be opening it up and there'd be all these messages. And when you follow an inbox zero routine, where you deal with everything and get it out of your inbox, when I open up my inbox and there's 1 or 2 emails, I feel in control. And so sorting through that, delegating, moving things into action required, but really keeping only the things that I absolutely have to in my inbox. It's just such a light feeling, but cleaning that out, and the psychological benefits are awesome.
And my final question for you has to do with that. When you are done being the businesswoman you are, at the end of the week or the end of the month or the end of the year, how do you decompress to sort of reintroduce yourself to yourself, so to speak?
I've got a couple of things I love to do. First is, you will always find me with a camera in hand. I am a happy amateur. I take pictures of flowers and buildings and nature. And you can see my photos at lorraineball.com. And I do it for me, and it's fun. I have had a walking group for
Well, that's
20 years.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I've had a walking group for 20 years, and every Saturday morning, a group of women walk. And it's not the same women all the time. Whoever's got time rotates in and out. Well, with Corona, I was not willing to let that go. And so every Saturday morning, we have a Google Hangout. Everybody gets on their headset. They walk in their neighborhood or their park or wherever they are. So we're all by ourselves and we're all together at the same time. And there is no problem that can't be solved by a group of smart women in 5 miles.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thoroughly enjoyed our discussion about the the marketing solutions for small business and small business in general. So I want to thank you for your time and for being here this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation, Kevin. I had a really good time.